I had gone to the career fair a year before, and I wasn't really looking for an internship because I knew I was going abroad and I wouldn't get back till late, but I used it as a practice. And then I made sure I had resumes and my business cards all ready to hand out. And then I talked to teachers and I just kind of practiced what I would say to people so that the first time I went up to someone I wasn't quite as nervous. But I would say plan ahead because you never know what's going to come, and if you talk to people earlier and you build these relationships when you're younger, they're going to carry forward. I know people who met a recruiter freshman year and now they're getting internships now and they're being contacted still, and they built these relationships up from a young age. And so it's nice to kind of know the people and get started freshman or even sophomore year. It's never too late to start though, so if you are a sophomore and still looking for an internship, you can just go out there and get to know people now.
So for the career fair, I went ahead of time and picked up that packet that the Career Services Center so lovely makes for you, and went through and picked out some internships that really applied to my major specifically, and then went through that list and organized them in a priority listing so that I could go through and see what employers I really wanted to see and which would be most important to me. So then I went online to each company's website and looked for some key ideas that I could bring up to the employer to make them know that make sure that they know that I went ahead of time and researched and know something about their company, which is really nice for them, I think. Well, I'm from accounting and finance, so looking at their 10Ks, figuring out what their sales revenue was last year, things like that will definitely put you above someone else that may be more qualified.
As for dress, if you're going to a career fair, I would say make sure you're formal, nice pants, a nice button down. You don't necessarily need to put on your nicest suit. Those are going to be more for your interviews, but make sure you look professional and make sure you're not kind of all over the place. Have your resume and your business card.
So going ahead of time is important, and also when you're there, going alone and individually is important. Don't go with friends, go by yourself, show the employer that you are independent. And don't bring your cell phone in because too many times there's people texting and that just looks horrible for an employer to see someone not taking it as seriously as they should. So at the career fair, I went and got that seating chart of all the employers and went through and circled based on my priority listing where the employers that I wanted to see were. So then I started off with some of my lower priority employers to warm up a little bit with at the career fair. And then went through and would go to my highest priority in the middle because that's when I was really at my prime. So I'd be pretty warmed up in the flow and then could finally talk to the employer that I really wanted.
I did go to the career fair. I talked to all the Big Four along with other places that were offering accounting and finance internships. And I just went up and introduced myself. I said I was a junior. I was majoring in accounting and finance. And I just said kind of what opportunities you guys have, what different things you guys are offering, or could you just tell me a little bit more about your company? And that opened up the conversation, and then that's how I met every single one of the recruiting managers, is through the career fair at all the Big Four companies. And so I went into the interview knowing them, and I could go up and I could say hello and I could ask how their day was, and it was more of like a relationship that I'd built just through the career fair.
I went and used my research that I did, which I think really impresses them, and had some good things on my resume to talk about. I think that's key. If you can bring up something that you've already done that shows them that you would be valuable to their own company. I think especially for sophomores, you have to realize that your competition for this internship is going to be very competitive because you have juniors going against you who may have taken classes that make them more qualified. So you have to really go above and beyond expectations as a sophomore to get an internship. Then as a junior, you have to really press that you are more qualified and you should be in that role versus someone else who hasn't taken classes that you've taken specifically in your major. Doing all the little things as a sophomore is really important. Sending the thank you cards, making sure you research the companies well enough to maybe say things that they wouldn't expect from a sophomore.